Hey everyone, it is RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, Season 5, Episode 1, All-Star Variety Extravaganza. Before we get too far in, I just want to address the fact that it's been a pretty tumultuous time in America, and some people were feeling like, how can I enjoy this thing that's really fun and entertaining? And I had some thoughts about recapping, but Shea Coulee and then RuPaul's Drag Race shared that post, put it really well when it was talking about what Drag Race means in the larger scheme of things. And then my opinion has always been that in order to have the energy to deal with important justice issues, important topics, we need to have things that refill our well, because that's what we're drawing from. And so I've always believed this, it's why I write what I write, which is fun and light, is that entertainment and light enjoyment and laughter are all an important part of keeping ourselves healthy so that we can do the real work. So there you go. That's all I'm going to say about that. In terms of this episode, I have already done the Season 5 reveal. So I will link it down below so that you can get a more in-depth where I talked about all of the contestants in depth. I'll go over that a little bit, but if you're like, wow, you really glossed over that, you can look at that video. So, I'm super excited about this season. I'm super excited about these people. I am very excited specifically for, Alexis Mateo, Mariah, sorry, my notes are scribbly, India Farah, and Ongina, because they are early season queens. So these are the people that the franchise was built upon. These are the people that made RuPaul's Drag Race into RuPaul's Drag Race. They went on when it wasn't a cultural, staple, and didn't really get a chance to benefit from how big the show has gotten. So the opportunity to introduce this to the fan race, fan base is really exciting to me. I've watched since the beginning. I am a competition reality junkie. You set a reality show, you make people win a prize. I'm there. So I've watched a ton of them. For whatever reason, I was able to catch this first season, and I've watched it ever since. So I'm familiar with a lot of these queens that apparently even the other contestants don't really know. Like Blair was telling Jujubee that was the first season she saw. She didn't see Season 1. Was the implication. She's probably seen it since then. I'm super excited for Jujubee. Jujubee was on All-Stars 1, which does not count, and Season 2. Jujubee is fierce and amazing, and proved in this episode in the reading challenge that she has the goods. So I'm super excited for Jujubee. Ongina was very good in her season. I didn't get Ongina. I didn't appreciate Ongina because she's known as a bald queen. Doesn't tend to rely on wigs, lots of little hats, things like that. At the time I was like, well, that doesn't look like a woman. Although she is tiny. But anyway, now I go, oh, I get it. I at least can, see that. Alexis Mateo played one of my favorite drag queen, Snatch Game characters ever. And really created what I think is the best kind of Snatch Game, which is she did Alicia Keys, but she didn't do Alicia Keys as Alicia Keys. She did a pregnant, bisexual or lesbian Alicia Keys, and it was great, and it showed you like, oh, Snatch Game, I called it Match Game the first time, Snatch Game does not need to be a literal interpretation. The priority is entertainment, and if that means that you take an existing character and you stretch and redo it into a parody or a satire, that's doable. And so I feel like Alexis Mateo never got the credit. I feel like when people talk about amazing Snatch Games, that should be the person that you say was a pioneer in it. And I believe that was the first season they did Snatch Game. I would need to pull it out, but I believe Season 2 was when they introduced it. Shea Coulee, I kind of missed that whole season. It's just not very firm in my memory. It's not a reflection on them. We've had a couple of really difficult years personally, and so I think that was one of the years where we were dealing with other stuff. So, and I didn't recap that year, I don't think. Maybe I did. I kind of have an on-again, off-again relationship with recapping the series until recently. But anyway, I feel like Shea Coulee is so much stronger than she is in my memory. Miss Cracker is someone I love, love, love because I've been watching her YouTube channel. When you watch a YouTube channel, and maybe you feel this way right now, you feel like you're in a personal conversation with the person, that you guys together have inside jokes, that you guys are kind of friends. And that's how I feel with Miss Cracker, someone who I've seen grow. So I started watching the recaps. I think what happened was her season came out, I started watching the recaps and then went, oh, she was recapping before she was in the show, went back and watched those and then continued up with her. And so I saw her on the show first, I believe, kind of saw the insecurity and then spent time with her on YouTube and was like, oh, this is someone I get. Okay, Derek Barry, I don't know much about Derek Barry. Mayhem Miller, I mentioned in the YouTube video, my biggest thing I know about Mayhem Miller was he's a drag mom of Eugene from the Try Guys, and so I've watched all of Eugene's videos. I recommend them, especially Eugene's. Eugene has a music video that's his coming out video, which sounds almost silly, but when you watch it, you go, okay, I get it. He's a theater, he's a film major. He wanted to create this. His real family's in it, tells a story. But I actually recommend even more than that, watching how he made that video, because from a creative standpoint, I'm a writer, I found it super interesting, and I'm always enjoys people's process anyway, and I think I've hit almost everyone. But yeah, India Farah, Mariah Balenciaga, Alexis Mateo, besides what I've already mentioned, there's not a lot of I'm interested to see them again. It's been for them like almost 10 years, 8 to 10 years. I don't know. They kind of said 10, 11, 10. So I expect to see them a lot. Blair St. Clair, I don't want to say a lot about appearance, but looked really different to me. In a way I couldn't, maybe possibly thinner. Blair made a lot of comments about, I've matured, I'm this new person. Now, there's two ways that could be. It could be that initially in her season, she was hiding behind some facades and she's no longer going to hide, in which case that's great, this is a sign of maturity. The other thing is that she's changed herself to try to be what she thinks people want, which is not a great idea. I got this, there's something about the way she talks that makes me concerned for her. That she's still maybe emotionally dealing, I don't know, there was just something in the conversation where I felt like she felt very fragile, and I was like, oh, what's going on? I like the original Blair, but you know, if this is more authentic to her, then of course I think that that's healthier for her, but I wasn't quite sure what was going on. I had a conversation with a friend, and my friend's like, oh, I'd love to see, you know, drag queens evolve, and I was like, okay, so maybe that is what's going on. I don't know, you know, sometimes you have a gut feeling, and my gut feeling was like, oh, maybe Drag Race wasn't a great experience for her, and she's kind of still on, I don't know, she seemed really thin. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the thing. We have the variety show. Everyone is bringing their acts. I think this should be really good because most of them perform on a stage, but I think they also can get in their head about what is Brew want, all of that. First of all, let me say, I've never felt closer to the drag queens when there was the Derek and India drama, and no one was shy about it, no one was coy, everyone was like, oh, tell me all the details, I need to know everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're just like me, they're just like the viewers. I loved it, I was digging it, I was crazy about it. It sounds like a little bit of like side shade that then just kind of escalated on both sides. I loved hearing an untucked Jujubee and then breaking down who can block who and how you counter block someone, and I was like, this is the information I need. Yes, you can counter block someone. That's awesome. And so it was like, I just kind of felt like, oh my gosh, this is relatable content, absolutely. So they all did their thing. Alexis did this carnival song dance. Shea did a pole dance. Shea Coulee, I kind of was waiting for that to start. Like I was like, okay, she's dancing around, okay, so I'm waiting for the flips, they never came. I'm waiting for the like hanging upside down, that never came. So for me, her being in the middle was totally understandable. Mayhem, I just wrote okay. Same thing, it started off really intense and you were waiting for it to build, or you were waiting for this big explosion, it never really came. Mariah spoken word poem, it hit particularly hard right now. So they didn't seem, they were like, oh, it's really important, but now, playing last night, I was like, wow. And I actually wanted to know, so red paint is a big, I live in the American Southwest, and red paint, especially when you have a handprint over your face, is Native American and Indigenous people iconography for violence against especially Indigenous women, because of how reservation policing works in and out of reservations. There's this giant loophole, which was probably created on purpose, because that's just seems to be the way our laws work, is they create loopholes to evade justice. But anyway, Indigenous women and peoples are significantly more likely to experience violence, especially sexual violence, and for the crimes to go unsolved. You can go look on Facebook. There's a lot of organizations that are working to stop that sort of stopgap. Anyway, so when I see red paint, especially smearing it around, I was wondering if that was a deliberate reference to Indigenous people in the violence. But I thought it was even if it wasn't, it was an incredibly powerful message, and especially for the time it aired. So there you go. Ms. Cracker, I thought was really fun. I thought some of the people who did best were the ones who grabbed their identity, especially took the stuff. This is sort of like the best hit. So when you go and you see your favorite band and they say, we're only playing new stuff, you're like, oh, I want to hear your best. I want to hear the things that made me fall in love with you. And I feel like that's what Ms. Cracker did. She did the pickle thing. She did the shablam, shablat, shablam. She did all that. Blair, what does that even say? Oh, I said sang. Angina, I thought it was kind of fun. I thought it was building to, like running through, so you know that every season they have a RuPaul's song. So I thought that what she was doing was sort of like a visual, like, I'm going to run through all those seasons and join you here in All Stars 5. But I guess I didn't notice that she didn't lip sync, which would have been a really great way to go. So I guess I understand why she's at the bottom. Derek was the most painful for me. I mentioned in another season that watching comedy flop is like gut-wrenching for me. It is so uncomfortable for me to watch. That's probably PTSD, a little flashback right there to the stage fright I had trying stand-up comedy and not doing so great. So that might have just been something I reacted to. Jujubee's song was legit. I was like, is that a studio version that she's lip syncing to? And India, the way they built it up. So this is where you can see how amazing editors are, because we had the Derek and India drama. We saw India. I would have sworn that India was about to flop. They showed the 1 second where she was like flipping her hair around and you thought, oh, this is going to be too much. And then you see it and you go, oh, it was great. It was amazing. So we get the new rules, which people seem to find really confusing, but it made sense to me. Either the winner gets to let go of someone, which was normal, or the group lets go of someone. And we know which one it is by a Drag Race lip sync assassin, which I was like, oh, okay. I don't know if I like that idea. But then we got to see Evie Oddly, and I was like, okay, you sold me on it. I want to see the past drag queens. It's always a shame that we fall in love with these people, and then they're gone. And I'm not saying that they're really gone, but for those of us who live in the middle of nowhere, unless they have a YouTube channel, which a few of them do, they're gone to us. So that'll be interesting. I think that'll be, I think that's going to end up, well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So Ms. Cracker was on top, Alexis and India. They all were fun. They were all high energy. They were all pushing to the end of their ability. Derek and Mayhem and Angina. I knew Derek was in the bottom. I actually didn't. Everyone else seemed to be like, oh, well, Mayhem was worse or Angina was worse. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I wouldn't have predicted that. So anyway, but how, from a story point of view, to have this big India Derek, they have this confrontation during the makeup room, they do all that, and then to have India win and Derek go. From a story point, it is perfect. Now that is, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure you all figured it out. which is they have all this footage and they say, what is the story of episode 1? The same way that I kind of do it, where I say, I don't repeat everything, I just repeat the stuff that's interesting. They kind of do the same thing with the edit. So India Farah, I thought Evie Oddly was going to eat her up. India did a great job, but Ivy's just amazing. Evie, why do I do that? Why do I do that? I think it's because I see the Y and I go with I. Anyway, Evie was amazing. Oh, okay. So I was like, what in the world does that mean on my thing? So anyway, Derek goes home. I think that was kind of inevitable. I think I was texting with a friend and we both said it just from the intros that Derek was saying, I did too much Brittany last time and I didn't show enough of myself. And then came in as Brittany and you're like, oh, that's not a great start. And then the impressions, the timing, I didn't think the impressions were as bad as everyone seemed to think they were, but they were so fast that you really needed more of them, you needed more space, but the audience wasn't reacting to them, which is common, and then people go faster and then they can't catch up and all that, but still didn't show, you know, whereas Miss Cracker did a whole thing based on her identity. Alexis did that, all that. Derek kind of did the opposite and hid again. So it's not that surprising that Derek went, because it just, now I understand, I'm not saying that Derek's like a trash drag queen. I don't think so at all. We're at All Stars. We are sending home great drag queens every single week. We are going to send home, we have 10 amazing people, all but 9 of them are going to, or I guess 7 of them are going to go home, because 2 of them will make it to or 3 of them will make it to the finale total, and then 1 will win. But you're splitting hairs at this point. We are talking about putting your top 10 favorite actors into a 1 through 10. One of them is going to get at the bottom. I just want to make that clear. Because we see the whole thing of just because you like one drag queen doesn't mean you need to send hate. So I'm not trying to send hate. I'm just saying in this group of 10 on this day, given the performances they did, it wasn't surprising to me that with the choices Derek made, that she went home first. I'll see her in another season though, hopefully. I did appreciate Alexis discussing weight a little bit in Untucked. I feel like that is an area, I will talk about how an outfit fits the body, but I won't make comments, and if I do, call me out on it, comments about the body itself, because I feel like that is what you have, you work with what you have. We have seen bigger queens be amazing, we've seen smaller queens be amazing, and I feel like it's one area that comes up a lot on Drag Queen, which is the idea of like, oh, all bodies are beautiful, but you're fat. You know what I mean? And it always kind of makes me feel a little bit like, but there you go. That is probably a discussion for people within the community to have, and I am sort of an outsider critiquing a competition. So there you go. Super excited. I wasn't as excited for All Stars coming in, I think, because just with everything going on, it's a little hard to transition emotionally into it. But then I watched it and I was like, oh, that's what I needed. I needed 2 hours of colorful, fluffy fun. I feel a little lighter. I feel a little brighter. I'm excited to get back to, you know, the handful, the dozen of you who consistently watch and comment. I love hearing your comments. I love having these discussions. You always bring up something that I'm like, how did I forget that? So don't forget to like, comment, tell me what you're thinking. You can just put like I agree with everything, which would be great. You can also say, I can't believe you didn't mention how amazing so-and-so was, or how badly they flubbed, or I don't like so-and-so. But of course, please be kind, because I don't know if the queens watch any of these, but if they do, I want them to feel like I made a critique on their choices and their performance and not who they are as a people. And I would want them to be able to look at the comments and feel the same way, that we are talking about their performance at this time as opposed to their value as a human being, which is, of course, everyone's valuable. So there you go. Anyway, enough of that pep talk. I hope you're staying safe and sane. Do what you need to, get your sleep, eat your veggies, take your medicine if that's something that you do. I take supplements, take your supplements. Take care of yourself so that you can do the thing that you were created to do. Okay, bye.